at NQF level 3. And when we were realigning the qualification in engagement with our subject matter experts, it was ultimately determined that you would not be able to employ someone who had a qualification in I am an end user computing specialist, but rather we understood that the ability to make use of a computer, to have basic digital skills, was a right for everyone. And because of that, we then looked at developing skills programs at the various levels. So we have finalized and we've submitted the 3 qualification or the 3 skills programs for basic end user computing at NQF level 3, NQF level 4 intermediate end user computing, and then we've got the advanced end user computing. The, I think, opportunity here as well is the ability to train learners at the different levels where they find themselves. You'd be able to conduct a diagnostic assessment to understand what is the learner's current level of knowledge and skill against end user computing or basic digital skills, and be able to align them with the correct program. So this is just a list of the programs that we have already realigned and submitted to the QCTO. So you'd see the heading says an evaluation with QCTO as well as SAQA. So we've already realigned quite a number of these qualifications. 14 historical qualifications already have been realigned into about 6 or 7 occupational qualifications. Okay, so that's actually 28 of them that have been realigned. Moving on to then the occupational accreditation process, you probably want to know, how do I become accredited and what process do I follow with the QCTO? The process is quite similar to the MICT SETA's process in the sense that they have a desktop compliance process, which is the first step, where you log onto their website and start with the application process. You would then be requested to submit specific documentation that would include your quality management system. It would include your alignment matrix that indicates the various components of what you'd be implementing and which pages it could be found on and what it is going to address. In addition to that, you would need to obviously submit the documentation around the legislative compliance aspect. The QCTO then, in terms of what I'm projecting at this point in time, conduct the desktop evaluation, and that's the first phase. And they anticipate that takes about 10 days. Then they send the allocation for processing to us. We acknowledge that we receive it. So wherever you see red is QCTO, wherever you see blue is MICT SETA, we acknowledge receipt of it. We then allocate a subject matter expert. In our instance, we allocate our advisors to actually go out and conduct these site visits to ensure compliance then to what has been submitted from a desktop perspective, but also from your site perspective. Is your site compliant or not? Does it meet the minimum requirements? Do you have enough or sufficient technical equipment? Have you adhered to the ratio in terms of facilitator or subject matter expert to learner? All of those aspects are covered in and through the site visit that is conducted between the MICT SETA advisor and yourself as the skills development provider. Once that has been finalized, we compile a report, or your advisor compiles a report. You are required then to endorse the content of the report, because this report would then sit within or serve at the MICT SETA's internal accreditation committee for recommendation to then the QCTO. So the next process is then we issue that to the QCTO. The QCTO then specifically have their own internal process, which includes then the sitting of the accreditation committee or the evaluation committee, and they ultimately make the final decision around your accreditation. And this is because we are the quality partner. We have made the recommendation, but ultimately they are the custodian for your accreditation. And that process, all in all, is mapped to be a total of 90 working days. Colleagues, I think it's important here to pause and just to indicate that the SETA can only start with the process of site visits once we've received the allocation from QCTO. We are dependent on the QCTO to receive the allocation and then to allocate to our advisors, who then come out, conduct the site visit, develop the report, serves at our committee, and moves on to the QCTO for their final processing. So just in terms of the process again, regardless of the fact that the accreditation still rests with QCTO, all skills development providers would be subject then to the QCTO's accreditation policy, as well as the MICT SETA's accreditation policy. The reason for that, and they're quite similar, the reason for that is because the qualifications that you are implementing still rest within the ambit of the MICT SETA subsectors, and therefore the requirements in terms of the accreditation and upholding the terms and conditions would be twofold within the QCTO and the MICT SETA as well. I'd like to move on to then the most critical part, which is then the ESA centers. And so an ESA center is the last stage of the process where the learner must complete, they don't like the word exam, but technically must complete an assessment that can be, depending on the outcome of the qualification, a combination of something that is written, and if the qualification has a technical output, something that is actually technically applied as well, your ability to technically troubleshoot a system would be an outcome, and you'd need to prove that in and through the ESA. Just in terms of the role players in the ESA, still we are governed by the QCTO, and they have oversight of the full processes that are undertaken in and through the ESA centers. If you're seeking to become an ESA center, you would need to apply directly with the QCTO. So if you pivot to their website, there is under for skills development providers a link where you can complete your application. Much like the former process on occupational accreditation, once they've conducted the desktop evaluation, they then issue it to the SETA for us to allocate an advisor. Our role in this process then is to be, the second part is the assessment quality partner, or what they now call us, the quality partner. So we just ensure that you are upholding the policy provisions under the assessment center policy that has been put together by the QCTO. We also ensure that the assessments are being correctly administered. Our role is then also to allocate the subject matter experts for each assessment that will be conducted. And this is to ensure that there's no conflict of interest in the process of assessment, simply because you could be a skills development provider and seeking also to become an ESA center, which you do become. You would need to have your own cohort of learners assessed at the end of the process. The SETA would need to ensure that the person who is conducting this assessment is not the same person who implemented the training. So the question we get asked quite often, can I be an ESA center and a skills development provider and administer the ESA for my own cohort of learners? The answer is yes. The challenge or the change in the process would be that the SETA would allocate then for the cohort in terms of who the subject matter expert would be. And then you as an assessment center then would be the delegated body where you would specifically implement what we have put together in terms of the instruments that need to be administered for any one of the qualifications that you have a cohort for. So this just outlines the responsibilities of the QCTO. It just says that, they consider our recommendations. As we indicated at the end of the process, we do put together a report. It does serve in our committee. We send through the recommendations through to the QCTO. They consider the recommendations that we have made. They make the final decision around the accreditation of the assessment center. And over and above that, they govern every single process that we are responsible for with the ESA centers. Our responsibility, we recommend you to the QCTO. We notify you of the outcome. We engage with you at the session with your advisor around whether We will endorse you and which qualifications we would endorse you for prior to it going to the QCTO. We also engage with you around any gaps that may exist in the process. So if you may have applied for a qualification, let's just say for the basic end user computing skills program, however, you do not have access to desktop computers or even laptops, we may not necessarily recommend. We would identify that as a gap and request that you actually close that gap within a specific time frame. Your role as an assessment center would be you would need to ensure the assessment of occupational and pod qualifications that have been set out, and that's a part of the assessment specification document that you would have access to once you become an ESA center. They're also fully available and loaded onto the QCTO website. You need to comply with what has been set out in terms of the regulations for assessment centers by the QCTO, as well as our role as the MICT SETA quality partner. You must conduct the integrated assessments. You must adhere to the set standards. You must enter into a formal agreement with us, and the formal agreement is the document that you sign at the end, which basically says, I will adhere to the terms and conditions that have been set out by the MICT SETA and the QCTO in becoming an assessment center. You should allow only candidates registered for assessment and practitioners into the area where you would be conducting the assessment, particularly if you are a skills development provider on the day that an assessment is happening, and perhaps if it happens in the same area that you would be implementing programs, you would need to ensure that that area is cordoned off and that it is fully available and dedicated then to the assessment that would be implemented. You must ensure that the candidates that are assessed and moderated, so the oversight of the process, is not the same person or the same subject matter expert or facilitator who was implementing the training before. However, as a CETA, we've undertaken to monitor that process and administer that process directly. And you should have appropriately qualified human resources, meaning subject matter experts, to even conduct assessments. You may not be conducting assessments for your own cohort, but you have the opportunity to conduct assessments for other cohorts. And because of that, you would need to ensure that you would have the correct subject matter experts to actually facilitate that process. Okay, and that, colleagues, I think covers the full scope of what we wanted to discuss, particularly around the transitional arrangements and the impact of the transitional arrangements. We wanted to give you an overview of the OQSF and how far the CETA qualifications can extend to, up to and including NQF Level 8. We wanted to share with you again the outcomes of the Gazette of the 4th of June and the extension on last date of enrollment on certain qualifications, but then also present the opportunity for you to eventually become external integrated summative assessment centers as part of the occupational accreditation process. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I will be available and move on to the next section, Program Director, which we said would be engagement and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Are there any questions regarding the transition? Manager for Learning Programs, Mr. Ernest Nemugavini. He is going to give us updates in terms of learning programs.
Colleagues, I'm unable to hear anything on my side. Am I still audible?
I'm just going to take you through the presentation under learning programs, what we do, and how to participate in terms of discretionary funding, and also reflect on the launch of the systems and what we expect from the stakeholder in terms of utilization of the system. Then basically what we do, we are responsible for the implementation of learning programs. In partnership with stakeholders, we are able to implement interventions such as your learnerships for unemployed learners, based on the qualification that Ms. Natalie have presented. The other interventions that are very key is your graduate internship programs, where students who are coming from universities and colleges who need workplace experience, then they can be afforded an opportunity to be in a workplace for 12 months. And from there, most of these graduates, they are more employable after graduate internship program. The other intervention, which is very, very key, is your TVET placement, where you got students that are coming from TVET colleges who need workplace experience for them to obtain their qualification for a period of 12 months up to 18 months, based on the requirement of the TVET colleges. Then the other intervention, which is very key, is university placement, to assist students that are coming from the universities who need workplace experience for them to obtain their qualifications. Then those are the key interventions, skills programs, bursaries, and also are very key, but I'll reflect them as I continue with the presentation. How do I move to the next slide? I can't see. We have launched the system to assist stakeholders in terms of how to apply or send the application to the SETA. In the past, stakeholders used to send application through and the system will allow you to apply for any interventions, but make sure that you upload all the required documents. And one of the challenges that we have noted every time when we open the DG window is that most of the stakeholders, they rush, and most of them, they upload incorrect or incomplete information. Some, they just created the application and not submit. Then the system will also assist in terms of stakeholders to track the status of the application. You will be able to view your application online, whether it has been shortlisted for vetting, whether it has been recommended, until the stage of the issuing of SLAs. And once the SLA have been issued, then the system will allow the stakeholders to generate learner agreement on the system and upload all the required documents that are very key in terms of SLA requirement. And the system will also going to assist stakeholders in terms of how to upload the invoice and deliverables in a way that they will be able to track their payment on the systems. Once you have uploaded all the required documents, you'll be able to track the payments on the system. You'll be able to upload the progress report when the advisors come and do the vetting or do the monitoring visit. They will be also going to be able to upload your site visit report that trigger the payment. And the system will also assist the SETA to generate the SLAs, which means in the past, stakeholders used to receive SLA via email, but going forward, you'll be able to sign off your SLA on the system, and it trigger the uploading of documents or submission of the invoices, and your contracts get recorded to the commitment register. And it's something which is good about the system that is linked to our finance, which means you will be able to track payments from the first disbursement until the last disbursement. You don't have to phone the SETA and query your payment. You can just go to the system and check the status of your payment on the system. I want to go to the next one. This one. Applications that we have received that are still under review. It's about I think it's 1798. I mean, the one that have been fully submitted. And one of the things that we have noted is that there are stakeholders that have created the application on the system, and they didn't submit the applications. That's one of the challenges that we experience every time when we open the window. We do have stakeholders that just go on the system and create the application, and they don't submit the application fully. The request is that as we open the DG window, don't do it on the last hour, because that's where you're going to make errors. Normally the window is about 30 days, which means you got 30 days to prepare the submission and ensure that you load your applications in line with the system requirement. In an area where the system requires you to upload CSD report, don't upload the ID, upload CSD report. Yeah, because those are the technical queries that we come across. Where it requires you to upload the bank statement, don't upload your ID, upload the bank statement, so that your application can meet a standard requirement before it go to the next phase of evaluations. Then, after the SETA have received all these documentations, they get evaluated and also being evaluated by the committee that is responsible for evaluation and shortlisting the candidates that are meeting the requirement. And those that are shortlisted for site vetting, the SETA deploy the advisor to come and do the site vetting, just to check if you do have the capacity to implement the program. Let's say, for argument's sake, you have applied to implement technical support. Do you have a training center that is accredited by the SETA to offer that training, technical support? The programs that we implement are occupational-based programs that require workplace experience. There will be a time where learners have to do theory. After they've done the theory, they have to do to be placed in a workplace. You must be able to provide host employers or area where you are going to place those learners. And the placement must be in line with the qualification. You can't place learners in a canteen or in a hotel where they are chef or waiters, whereas they're doing technical support, which means the workplace have to be in line with the qualifications, so that as we train these learners, we don't train for the streets, they can be employable. Train your learners in a way that you can hire them. If you cannot hire them, which means no one can hire your learners, which means there must be quality in terms of the trainings that we are offering, so that we can address the issue of unemployment. And if the learners are properly trained, some they can even start their own enterprise after completing this program. And we encourage stakeholders to put some top-up programs. If, let's say, learners are doing technical support, there's nothing wrong to also give them international exams programs that can really assist them to be employable in the market. You must not train for the sake of pushing the numbers. Let's train our learners in a way that they can be employed when they complete the program. Can go to the next slide. And this is just a slide to reflect in terms of number of applications per province. What we have noted that is that most of our stakeholder base, they are in Gauteng, since Gauteng is an economic hub. And if you check on the graph there, you'll see how Mpumalanga have responded in terms of the current DG window for 2024. Then we encourage stakeholders and training providers as we open this DG window for us to be able to drive rural development in Mpumalanga. We're encouraging you to respond to the call as we advertise our DG window so that we can reach areas where we have never reached. We can reach those learners that are in those underdeveloped communities, rural areas. We need these skills so that they can participate in the economy. We can move to the next slide. The next table just to reflect in terms of indicators that we normally advertise every time when we have a window. We have a programs or intervention that focus on training learners on entrepreneurial skills, because we believe that as a society or as a country, for us to grow the economy, we need to invest on SME development. That's why we're having an intervention where we train learners on how to start businesses. Then the other intervention that I've also reflect your TVET placement. Those students that are studying at the TVET colleges who need workplace experience for them to obtain the qualification is one of the key targets that we normally reflect as we advertise. University placement is a program that assists university learners with placement for a period of 12 months for them to be able to obtain their qualification. Graduate internship program is very, very key, where you assist graduates that are coming from the universities, colleges, who need workplace experience for them to be able to participate in the economy. Skills program is very key, and learnership based on the qualifications that Natalie have presented. Those are the key. You need to choose qualification that responds to the key economic activities in your province, so that when you train those learners, they can be able to be employed. Media programs, they are very key. There are a lot of untold stories in these provinces that are not shared to the country, but we need service providers that are on that space to respond to that call and train learners in film, train learners in radio. There are a lot of opportunities under radio, because now you don't need a license to run a radio. You can have an online radio without even having INCASA license, which is an opportunity for our young people to have online TV, online radio, and report on the issues that is coming from their communities. Bursary programs for unemployed students. These key targets talk to universities, where we assist university learners that are studying programs within our space: media degrees, advertising degree, ICT degrees, telecommunications, and electronics. Then I think that's the summary of what we do and what we want to encourage stakeholders that are participating in terms of implementing DG programs. Please, let's utilize the system. We are not going to accept manual submission going forward. We are only going to accept things that are coming through the systems. Then for those that need assistance, we are there to assist. Mark will take you through all the functionality within LPD. And please use the system. Where you got issues, let's engage so that we can assist. Because once we use the system, everything is filed accordingly. Information cannot be lost because it's there on the portal. And you are able to track any activities of the program on the system. Thank you very much.
The CEO and both our senior managers have made mention of it. We're very, very excited. This is the first province that we have visited to actually conduct the training. And in order for us to successfully implement this system, in order for us to get the optimal use, it's imperative that you, the users, know how to navigate through the system. So for that, I'm going to hand over to our IT team from both MICT SETA and TUT, who have been instrumental in the development of the system. The expectation is that you will actually log in and follow the instructions that they are projecting. Please ensure that you are participating. It is an interactive session. Should you require any technical assistance or assistance with your login, we do have ETQA members available. You just need to raise your hand during the session and we will assist you. Thanks. I'll hand over to Mark.
Begin, because once we begin, we are jumping in. So please go ahead. Right, thank you. So, once again, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark. I'm from the Tshwane University of Technology, and we basically built this system with the help of MICT SETA in order to serve you. So this is your system. You know, this is a system that is able to help you and to serve you in the ways that, you know, to help you with the work that you do with MICT SETA, the great work that you do with MICT SETA. So to get onto the system, you go to the MICT SETA website, mict.org.za. I'm sure most of you have been on that website. And then you just click on Stakeholder Login. In the top right corner, Stakeholder Login. This will take you to the LMS system. So we call it the LMS system, which is the Learner Management System. Another way to get onto the LMS system, you just type in LMS, lms.mict.org.za. So the MICT website, but you just put LMS dot at the beginning, and then you get onto the LMS system. Apologies for the flickering. I don't know why. All right, so I think so when you get onto the system, you'll be able to see the sign-in page, and I'll just explain this page to you. So you can either sign in if you already have credentials on the system, or you can register onto the system. So and I'll begin with assessors and moderators. There are two ways of registering as an assessor. So if you are an accredited assessor, an MICT SETA accredited assessor, then we already have your information on the system. All you need to do is to verify that information. Because as you know, when you're using paper and you know, Excel and whatnot, sometimes the information gets, yeah. So if you're not yet accredited, then you'll need to register on the system. If you are accredited with MICT SETA and you've been, you know, an assessor and moderator or an STP for quite some time, then you just need to verify your information, and I'll show you where to go to do that. If you're a new assessor, then you need to register on the site. So you go to the MICT SETA website. In the top right corner, you see Stakeholder Login. That takes you to the login page for the LMS. All right, so let's say you're a new assessor and moderator. All you need to do is to go under register. So you go to register as a new assessor. You put all your details there. So make sure you specify that you're registering as an ETQA assessor, because there are different people that use the system. If you register as a learning program facilitator, that means you're going to apply for funding, for the DG funding that Mr. Anes talked about just earlier. They apply for companies, you know, for that DG funding, for the discretionary grant. So that's for the work integrated learning, the university placements, the TVET placements, bursaries and all that. So that's the learning program facilitator. The SDF is the person that submits the WSP, you know, the work skills planning for use for a specific company. But the one that we are dealing with today is the ETQA assessor. You can register for all of them, that is fine. The system will manage to get your details and then assign all those roles to you. So if you are a learning program facilitator for a certain company and also an assessor for that company, then you can register as both a learning program facilitator and an assessor. So the system allows you to do that. You know, you don't have to just be the one role. You can be several roles in the system. Same thing with the training provider or SDP. You can be an assessor and you can also be an SDP as well on the system, using the same email address and password to log. Put in all your information. Please follow the rules when it comes to the passwords. The password will tell you, the number of characters. So you just have to put how many characters. You should have at least one number, one uppercase letter, and all that. And this is basically to guide you. If you don't do that, then it will keep on asking you to correct your password until you get the right. So all these need to be green. All right. So once you've registered and everything has been successful, then you just have to go to the sign-in page and sign in into the system. Okay? So the second way of getting onto the system, and I think most of you will use this because you are accredited assessors, I believe. So we probably already have most of your information in the system. So you don't have to register again. When you register again, you'll need to go through the whole accreditation process. But when you use this next link that I'm going to show you, then you won't need to go through the accreditation. As long as your accreditation is still valid, then it will just be put onto your name. Okay? Is that fine? All right. So you go back to the website, the mict.org.za website, and then you go to stakeholder information. So remember, stakeholder login takes you to the login page, but then stakeholder information will then take you to a page that opens up, the stakeholder information business. So then you click on ETQA LMS module. So you go to stakeholder information, you click on ETQA LMS module, national roadshows, which is this roadshow. You scroll to the bottom and you'll be able to see there's a click to RSVP, and I think most of you went here to RSVP. So we put these two links there as well, because we know that you've been here and you've RSVP'd. So you'll find the click here for training provider registration, and then click here for assessor moderator registration. So this is for people who are already assessors and you're already accredited by MICT SETA. Not by Bank SETA, not by Services SETA, but MICT SETA. So if you're an assessor, you just click on assessor moderator registration, which will then take you to this page. Okay? So if you click on assessor, click here for assessor moderator registration, it will take you then to this page. And on this page, it will ask you what is your ID number, because when you're applying to become an assessor, we got your ID number or your passport number. So you put it in there, and then also your accreditation number. I'm sure you have your accreditation number, RAS or RMD or /. So you put in your full accreditation number, and then you click on send OTP to email address and cell phone number. So the email address that we have on file and your cell phone number will receive a 5-digit code that you will then put in here, and then you click fetch profile. Okay? Is it simple? A little bit. All right, so you click on send OTP to email and cell phone number, and then once you get it, you'll get this message at the top telling you that OTP has been sent to that email address and to that cell phone number. Once you get it, you'll then be able to put in the OTP. Check your email. Sorry, my internet got disconnected. Still disconnected.